Welcome to Workers' Comp Know Your Rights.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tracy Merda, and today I'm joined with experienced attorney Kathleen Dotoli, whose practice focuses on workers' compensation and Social Security disability law. Today, we're going to be diving into the ins and outs of workers' compensation law in New Jersey. Kathy, welcome.
Hey, Tracy. Great to be here.
Well, Kathy, I'm just going to dive right in and ask you, tell me about some of the most common types of injuries that are eligible for workers' compensation law in New Jersey.
Well, we see a lot of back injuries, neck injuries, shoulder injuries like rotator cuff tears. I've seen a lot of hamstring tears recently, carpal tunnel. Unfortunately, we do see some amputations, especially for those who are working with heavy equipment, ankle injuries, foot injuries, knee injuries, you name it. We've also seen a lot of COVID injuries coming through. So we do file claim petitions for individuals who were exposed and infected with COVID. Those cases are coming in a little few and far between now, but that was a thing for quite a while.
Wow, I'm surprised to hear that. I guess you don't really think of COVID and workers' compensation, but it's there, absolutely. Well, Kathy, tell me some examples of occupational diseases that could be claimed under New Jersey's workers' compensation law.
Yeah, so if there's an individual who day in, day out was doing a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of reaching, a lot of bending. Think people who are working in construction, warehouse workers, road crews, landscapers, people who are doing a lot of physical exertion. Well, after a certain time, this is going to create a wear and tear on areas of your body, areas such as your spine, your shoulders, your neck, your knees. I remember representing a butcher who seriously injured both of his shoulders while working in a very cold environment and, constantly pressing against the products that he was working with. So it's limitless, really. Almost anything can be susceptible to a workers' compensation injury.
Sure, absolutely. Now, clear something up for me. What is the difference between a personal injury claim and a workers' compensation claim, and would someone ever have both?
Yes, occasionally there is both. Yes, that is correct. But let me differentiate between the two. A workers' compensation claim results from an injury that happened at work. Now, that could have been an injury that occurred on the premises of your employer. If you are an outside, say a field technician, it could have happened on somebody else's location. If you are a home office worker, believe it or not, if you suffer a work injury while you are working, even at your home, you may be entitled to workers' compensation benefits. And in that case, we file what is known as a claim petition, and that gets filed with the Division of Workers' Compensation. Now, a different type of case is, I think you're describing a personal injury case where, let's say, an individual is not at work and they suffer from a motor vehicle accident. Well, that is something that is not a workers' compensation case and is filed in Superior Court. But Tracy, your question was, can you have both? The answer to that question is yes. If you can show that a third party was liable for your work accident, then yes, you may have the grounds for filing a third party case. Let's think of an example. Let's say you work at a grocery store and you are walking around the grocery store and you slip and fall on a wet floor. Well, if there was reason to believe that you weren't properly noticed, that the floor was wet, and a cleaning crew perhaps had left the area without putting up those little orange cones or a caution wet floor. If an outside company left the area without putting up proper notice, then yes, that might be what is called a third party case, So that's not a claim against your employer. You can file that claim too, but that would be a lawsuit perhaps against the cleaning company. But there are other examples of when that might be appropriate. But that's the best one that comes to mind.
Well, thank you, because that does really clear things up, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who had that question. Well, Kathy, walk me through, what do I do if my workers' compensation claim is denied?
Let's say you have a work accident and you go to notify your employer, and for some reason, they either don't report it to the workers' compensation carrier, or you think maybe it is reported, but unfortunately, nothing really happens. You're not sent to a doctor. You're not sent for diagnostic studies. You're not sent for physical therapy. Like, kind of nothing's happening. This happens quite frequently, unfortunately. And I'm not sure exactly why. Maybe it comes from lack of training at the employer's facility, or, someone maybe just doesn't know what to do or how to notify their workers' compensation carrier. You never know. So if that were to happen, you have to contact an experienced attorney who focuses on workers' comp, because we need to right that ship. We need to get it back on track and make sure that the workers' compensation carrier gets notice. They need to know that something happened in order to get you the medical treatment and other benefits, even like wage replacement, to get this righted for you. Now, you can also self-notify, by the way. You can notify the workers' compensation carrier yourself. How do you know who it is? Well, you could ask your human resources department. This information is supposed to be posted very clearly in a common area. So you may want to look around, maybe in the lunchroom or near the water cooler, and try to locate that notice. And another thing you can do is, once again, you can contact an attorney who can find out that information for you. If you can also go online and type in the information about your employer to locate the name of the workers' compensation carrier. So, but by all means, make sure that this injury gets reported in a timely manner.
I want to dive into the actual documentation. I know that's probably a pretty important part, no matter what kind of case it is. How should employees be documenting their injuries to give their case the best chance?
I'd love to see an accident report. Larger companies, medium to larger companies, will have a form that is used that states, exactly where something happened, how it happened, if there were any witnesses, what the injury was, what is needed. And that accident report should be copied, placed in your file, sent over to the workers' compensation carrier. Now, smaller companies, Tracy, as you can imagine, don't necessarily have a lot of those systems in place. So if they don't have an accident form per se, a really smart thing to do is to send an email or a text to your employer and let them know something happened, especially if it happened off premises without, any other coworkers around. You want to make sure that your employer has notice of that event, and that if for some reason, and everybody gets busy, but if your information gets lost in the shuffle, you can very easily readily go back to that text message or that email, or even send a copy of a note, give a note to your employer saying what happened, whatever method possible, hopefully electronic, because you can keep track of that. Whatever you need to do to notify your employer, do it, because it's essential to moving your claim forward.
Kathy, why is it really critical to the injured worker's case to have your firm hired on as early as possible?
I do like to take on a case early. I like to take it on early, even when somebody is getting authorized medical care, even when someone's getting a wage replacement. Now, you might think, well, the sun is shining. What do you need a lawyer for? Well, things sometimes arise very quickly. A second opinion might be needed. Suddenly, a diagnostic study is needed, and it's not being approved in a timely manner. If for some reason a surgery is warranted, and then all of a sudden we're being sent for a second opinion with another doctor, I want to make sure that I'm able to help my clients deal with this end of their claim, and they can concentrate on getting better. They don't need to deal with all the hassles and the worry about getting things approved. They need to concentrate on their health. I'd rather have them call me and let me or my staff work on getting them the things that they need, rather than have them worry about it while they're just trying to get better.
Well, Kathleen, I want to talk a little bit more about you specifically, how you guide your clients through the whole crazy workers' compensation system in New Jersey. What does that look like? What do you do for them that maybe someone else can't?
Well, look, to be honest with you, there are many experienced attorneys in this area. And I know that I have many colleagues that handle cases such as workers' comp and Social Security disability in a professional and experienced way. At my office, I like to think that we are helping people get what they need and also do it in a way that is filled with empathy, compassion, kindness, accessibility, because that's everything to me. And I know my clients really appreciate it when they're getting returns phone calls towards the end of the day, on the weekends even. I mean, emails towards the end of the day. I know that my clients need answers. And, we try to make ourselves as accessible as possible so that they stress less about their workers' compensation event.
Well, as we wrap up here, I wanted to know if you have any advice for New Jersey workers who are trying to figure out if they even have a claim or not.
Just, the consultation is free. Call an attorney, somebody like me, who will be able to hear what happened to you, answer your questions regarding whether or not you have a case, whether or not you're within time, whether or not your injury is such that it would fall under the workers' compensation provisions. And it takes nothing. And usually people call, in the morning and they have an answer by the end of business day. We make that a priority to get those important questions answered.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Kathleen. This has been a true pleasure. I love having these discussions with you. And thanks, everyone, for tuning in to our discussion today on all things workers' compensation law in New Jersey with attorney Kathleen Dotoli. For more information or to connect with Kathy direct, go to lawofficeofkathleenmdotoli.com. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.